Should the minimum voting age be lowered? Cruz puts Congress on blast after border visit stopped the political posturing and solved the problem. Senator Ted Cruz recently traveled to the Rio Grande Valley sector to observe firsthand what is happening at the border. Sydney Hernandez Sydney GBT. BORDERNEWS Over 144,000 people crossed the river last month, in 1 month alone. This is a crisis. The loopholes that Congress has in place is putting children in harm's way. Earlier today I visited the Central Processing Center. Ted Cruz. What Cruz saw infuriated him. When he finished his visit, Cruz spoke out about the tactics being used to delay help that ultimately costs lives. Sean Hare Executor WJ. Yes, Ted Cruz went to the border then put Congress on blast. Nobody who is compassionate, nobody who is virtuous, nobody who gives a d about human beings, would want even a single day to perpetuate these loopholes and put more children in harm's way, Ted Cruz. A lot of politicians like to talk about their enormous compassion, their enormous virtue, Cruz said. Let me tell you, nobody who is compassionate, nobody who is virtuous, nobody who gives a d about human beings, would want even a single day to perpetuate these loopholes and put more children in harm's way. Ted Cruz. Heavy check mark Ted Cruz. Stunning. In the past year, CBP has apprehended over 264,000 people here illegally just in the Rio Grande Valley sector. That's more than double the entire population of McAllen. In 1 year. This is a crisis. Congress needs to close the loopholes now. End obstruction. It's no secret that the delay tactics used by the left have come at a cost for immigrants in need of assistance. The left has chosen to use the crisis at the border to frame political attacks against President Donald Trump rather than vote in favor of aid. They continued their tactics until they could hold off no longer, and finally, after voting against humanitarian border aid 17 times, they caved. But they got what they wanted: months of sound bites and media exposure blaming Trump for border separations and living conditions. But the Democrats' heartless strategy did not go unnoticed by Representative Dan Crenshaw. He posted a video that now has over 150,000 views explaining exactly why the delay occurred. Representative Dan Crenshaw. Heavy check mark Rep. Dan Crenshaw. We finally passed a humanitarian funding bill. It provides necessities for migrants, more funding for processing centers and more resources to adjudicate asylum claims faster. But why did it take so long? Here's the truth behind the political theater we saw play out. Watch. Cruz agrees with Crenshaw's assessment. We ought to be angry, Cruz said. We ought to be angry at politicians who wash their hands of this problem. Cruz's anger was not without a specific warning. He gave a direct challenge those who would use delay as a tactic at the expense of children. It is time to end this crisis, and the only way we'll end this crisis is for Congress to stop the political posturing and solve the problem, Cruz said. Close the loopholes so children are not subject to exploitation like they are now. Cruz is absolutely right. It is time to end the obstruction. Congress must stop playing games with people's lives and our security. Border reform is compassionate to everyone. Don't believe the liars who tell you differently. Share this with your friends and family, and let's see what they think.